Okay. So, like right after we got off last week, I got, a few weeks ago when we recorded, I got an email in response to a show that Danny and I had done, an afterwards show where we talked about Cedars of Lebanon. So Cedars of Lebanon is the hospital that she and I were born at, that the location is now the Church of Scientology. I think I've told you about this before. But what we have discovered is that the Cedars of Lebanon is also a Masonic fraternal organization. It is considered a side degree. It is the 34th degree, and it is there's some very interesting things about it, right? Including the fact that they often refer to it as part of the Blue Lodge. And one of the things that happened when Cedars went into the change to Scientology is they painted the building blue, which is kind of right in your face. But there's some very interesting things that Danny and I have begun to discover digging into the tall cedars of Lebanon. That's what they call themselves, right? And right after you and I recorded, and as part of the episode, we talked about the fact that you had been born in Atlantic City, right? So immediately after getting off with you, somebody sent me an email saying that they had just, that's not what I meant to do. That they had just listened to Danny and I's show. And then right after that, what is happening here? It's not sharing what I want to share. Let me figure that correctly. Hold on a second. More on. No, it's not doing it. Let me make this picture bigger somehow. Let me figure out what's wrong here. I'm going to push pause. Okay. So they were listening to Danny and I's show, and then they went into an antique shop and they found this mug.
Oh my gosh.
Look what it says right underneath. Atlantic City, New Jersey, 1962.
Oh my gosh. Right? That's the year I was born.
That's the year you were born, right? Yeah. And it's Atlantic City. So what I did, right? He was talking about the show with Danny because he didn't know about the show with you yet. He's the guy who sent it to me, has been on the Glass Bead game with Michael and I. A different person than we'll read the comment from later. But this was what made me wonder. I wonder if Elisa's father was a member of the Tall Cedars of Lebanon, because some of the weird stuff that Danny and I got into, and I'll be happy to send you the show where we talked about the Cedars of Lebanon so you can check it out. And we're not done digging into it. Was pretty interesting. And the fact that this is like, we follow the synchronicities a lot in this show. We always consider that they can be controlled coincidences, but sometimes there's natural ones, right? So I thought that was kind of fascinating. It's kind of hard to control the antique shop, right?
Well, let me interject there. Just comment on the synchronous coincidences. The way I say it is coincidences are a luxury for the uninitiated. Okay. Meaning it may not be a person that put the mug there, but there's something that directs things and connects things. And that is my view. There really is no coincidence. It's really not once you really start delving into things.
Correct. Right. So I don't, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, the synchronicities are either just coincidences or they're being designed to trap you into, I'm like, yeah, like even if they are, they're interesting to follow if you do it with the eyes of skepticism and also curiosity simultaneously. Right. So that was why I asked you the question. Right. So I'll send you the video that Danny and I did about it.
And now I'm going to look into that. Why that's Atlantic City? You found something on Atlantic City and Tall Cedars?
So when we started searching for it, the first one that I found was in Los Angeles. And what's fascinating about its location, I swear to God, it's a building that I bought drugs from back in the day. Right. Which that like, to me, that for some people, they would be like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, makes perfect sense to me. Right. Right. That I went to as part of that. But what was the most interesting part is the other two like main active organization locations right now are in Baltimore and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which are both the locations that Michael Wan spends his time. And he has some lots of similar background as me. And there's so much connective tissue between he and I that it gets into the level of like the very close pairing and projects and things like that from childhood possibilities, right? But he lives near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he's from the Baltimore area. And his mother actually like is from Baltimore and grew up in an area where there's like what's called like the Old Forest or whatever, right? Like it kind of thing. And he spent time there last year that we used a lot in the episodes that we were doing. So it was just interesting that the other two locations besides the building in Los Angeles where I bought drugs that come up now as very active organizations are those two. I had found nothing about Atlantic City, but I had asked you in that episode, like, where exactly were you born? Because we were talking about the possibility of, you know, which military installation or which military industrial complex company was located near where you were. And I'm getting to the place where I think that not just the general secret society that all the fine gentlemen are part of, but the inner circles are where people whose day jobs are at those facilities spend their time in the evening talking about the weirder or lesser known phenomenon that go on based on the work they're doing under the guise of some sort of government program or whatnot, right? If you watch, and I think I've told you about this, if you really look at Twin Peaks with a certain set of eyes, that is what is being described. That the after hours club for people who are working in government projects, whether that be the military or some of the corporations or whatever, is like playing with the stranger phenomena of what their work is, right? And so Tall Cedars of Lebanon seems like they might be interested in a particular set of phenomena that you might find interesting. So I'll send you the show, and then
I just pulled up maps, and it's interesting because my mother's side of the family had a lot of connections. She was the real connection in Jersey. My dad was there and met her because of being in the Navy. But I remember my mom, I just remember these little bits and pieces that she was always mentioning Allentown. And if you look on the map, Jersey and Philly and Allentown and Harrisburg, I mean, they're really very close together. It's you know, so it doesn't surprise me that now maybe it's not Atlantic City, that maybe it's moved over to Harrisburg, PA, you know, in recent times. But that whole area, you know, I have to pull up the map and then be not triggered, but reminded of some of the places she mentioned.